What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Paul Hall and 10th Man in G+, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Nathan, before you start the housekeeping question, can I say one thing real quick?
Go ahead.
I listened to that 2016 debate between Nathan and Rumpus. Oh my God.
You mean
Never
QE?
show himself anymore.
You mean
Yeah, QE and Rumpus. He should never even show his face anymore. That is terrible.
Indeed.
I watched the Vsauce thing. That was pretty funny.
That went out on Sunday, I believe. No, Saturday, in place of Ballbusters. So it was my kid's 4th birthday, so I wasn't available to do Ballbusters. So I think QE opted to run that show instead. So that went out. Yeah, so check it out. It's on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. Be Here or Be Sphere. Right, let's do some housekeeping. Hey, Arwin. Good timing.
Hello.
Hello. Any signs of a physical, geometric, sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
Not from Van Nuys Airport.
No.
Okay, as it was discussed in the pre-show, and we've got a picture of a actually deflecting or actual spin direction of a hurricane. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, as opposed to the hurricane-based variety, which is not Coriolis effect. Tappy tap tap tap.
Is there any evidence?
Earth-based variety?
Earth-based, yeah, Earth-based.
Oh dear.
Is there any evidence that a hurricane wind is moving in a straight line or standing still?
This is a, I think this is, it could be a satellite picture, claimed to be satellite picture. Nevertheless, I'm pretty certain that they move in a cyclonic motion. In other words, it's not actual deflection observed from the ground because we're spinning underneath this wind, Paul. It's actually got a spin direction. So unless you were part of that spin, watching something on the ground appear to deviate, hurricanes have got sod all to do with not actual deflection of Coriolis. So no, this is definitely not an effect of Coriolis effect. Anybody else? Truth Earth spins? Anybody at all?
Can I just say, like, because, you know, they claim the ring laser gyro, but to put that through the scientific method, you would have to alter the independent value, which is Earth spin.
Yeah, if you want to claim, well, you wouldn't get that far because you can't claim ring laser gyro as a natural phenomena. But yeah, I see what you're saying. If you're going to claim that it's science, which it definitely is, then you'd need to vary your independent variable. If the claim of 15 degrees an hour deviation of a ring laser or optical gyro is being claimed to be Earth turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour as the claimed cause of this non-natural phenomena, then yes, for it to be scientific, you'd need to vary and manipulate that which you assume caused the effect. In this case, Earth turning. And yeah, you're not going to start and stop Earth turn. We don't have any Earth turn. Earth isn't turning. If we did, we'd have 15 degrees an hour deviation of things that aren't attached to Earth that's spinning. We don't.
It's weird. Like, intellectual people like point to that the ring laser gyro, but yeah, you have to stop and start Earth to verify that. Like,
you can debunk it in a different way. I mean, the fact that it's not scientific was an internal issue, which I won't go into now, i.e. between flat earthers in terms of what is and is not science. However, the way you'd actually use that particular claim is contrary to where most people might necessarily position it. Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. I'm going to keep this relatively brief because I don't want to get into an endless diatribe about Coriolis effect. Anyway, the way most people would position it is to do as you've done, which is debunk it. And not necessarily the way you've done it, actually, but you've done it by claiming it's not science, which is true. However, if you've got Earth rotating underneath a ring laser or a fibre optic or mechanical gyroscope, then Earth is rotating underneath an inertial reference frame. That's Coriolis deviation. The 15 degrees an hour that they claim with that fibre optic gyro is Earth rotating underneath a gyroscope in an inertial reference frame not attached to the spinning Earth moving underneath it. That's the deviation. Coriolis effect is essentially what that is claimed to demonstrate. Same with the pendulum. Pendulum swings in one direction, back and forth, back and forth. That's all it does. But because Earth's rotating underneath, it knocks over the dominoes. And the rate it's knocking them over is 15 degrees an hour. Well, that's a claim of Coriolis deviation. Well, if you take that as read, okay, so the pendulum shows that we've got an inertial reference frame with the pendulum in it, just moving back and forth, not deviating, but seeming to deviate because Earth is rotating under the pendulum at 15 degrees an hour. All right, so if you're not attached to Earth, inertial reference frame, from the ground, you'll observe things drift then at 15 degrees an hour. Oh yeah, you'll see a ball drift. It'll go through goal, says Neil deGrasse Tyson. From the stands, it looks like it's curving, but in reality, it's travelling straight and Earth's turning underneath the ball, meaning it goes through the goal. Because Earth's turning underneath the ball. It's in the inertial reference frame. So you go, okay, so Earth's turning at 15 degrees an hour underneath a pendulum and a gyro and a football. Because they're not attached to the spinning reference frame of a claim to be spinning Earth. So that plane up there, travelling through the sky, is also not attached. So I would look at it and see it seem to curve then. Not actual deflection, it's obviously travelling straight, but from the ground, because I'm spinning underneath it, it seems to curve, right? That plane's looking like it's curving when it's actually travelling straight. That's because we're turning underneath, according to the claim that Earth is spinning 15 degrees an hour underneath the plane. But if Earth's turning at 15 degrees an hour underneath an aeroplane, then the destination that the plane is travelling to is coming towards it at whatever speed the Earth is claimed to be turning at. So in the case of a flight between Charlotte, North Carolina and Los Angeles, a flight that in actuality takes about 3.5-4 hours, if you've got Earth turning underneath that aeroplane so that I can look up at it and see it seem to curve, that's Coriolis deviation. So I'll look up and see it seem to drift at 15 degrees an hour. Wow, look at that plane seem to curve. Well, that means that Los Angeles is coming towards that plane at about 800 miles an hour. Well, that would shorten the flight time to about an hour and a half. Because Earth's rotating underneath the plane, so we can see this 15 degrees an hour deviation they claim we have. So when they say 15 degrees an hour, that's all they say. 15 degrees an hour of the gyro proves Earth spinning. No, the gyro is claimed to demonstrate Coriolis effect. And that would be 15 degrees an hour, claimed to be rotation of Earth underneath the gyro, and underneath a football, and underneath a bullet, and underneath an aeroplane, and underneath a drone, and underneath a hot air balloon, and underneath a helicopter. So Earth turns underneath drones, does it? Earth turns underneath aeroplanes, does it? No, it doesn't. The things that are in the air for any significant period of time do not in any way, shape or form demonstrate 15 degrees an hour deviation. Well, they absolutely must if Earth's turning underneath, as is claimed by the gyroscope. It just isn't. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Well said.
What gravity? Which gravity? What's gravity?
Take your pick, don't mind. Scientific evidence of any gravity.
There's evidence of things fall down and go boom boom. Is that gravity?
That's something falling down, go boom boom. About helium balloons, do they fall down, go boom boom?
they rise up and go fly, fly.
So that's not
The-
everything
the
going down, go
only-
boom, boom then. This universal
The only
downward
evidence-
vector, 9.8 meters per second. Yeah, that's not universal at all, is it? Things go up.
The only evidence for gravity would be against its downfall.
Boom, boom. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
None whatsoever. Not from those fields. Not real science.
I can observe, and then I can observe it again, and then I can time it, and I can predict its location. There you go.
Not a scientific prediction, though, is it?
But is that like the new hotness scientific method? Observe, form a hypothesis, and then just keep observing?
Yeah, but the crucial detail is they then take the
Oh,
hypothesis as the explanation, even though it's not been tested.
Excuse me, Chocolate, can you quote
Yeah,
a
but-
scientist? Chocolate, if you're going to enter this field, this genre, please quote a scientist that uses new hotness.
Dr. Chocolate saying, there you go.
According to Vsauce, science doesn't prove anything.
What an outrage. Yeah, all those people who are dying of scurvy because science didn't prove the lack of vitamin C to be the cause of that effect. That wasn't validated by science. Science didn't prove anything. All those people are dead. Oh, my bad. Yeah, science definitely proved that, didn't it? Science proves or disproves an alternative hypothesis. But the scientific method is rigorously laid down with a null. So at the end of the process, that would be systematic experimentation. You'll either prove your null or prove your alternative. In other words, something's getting proved if you follow science. So that's all it does. It only proves your hypothesis if you perform the method. That is to say, you go through the full extent of the scientific method and get to the systematic experimentation stage where you prove your alternative or prove your null. So something's getting proven if you're doing science. What the hell is Vsauce Michael babbling about? He hasn't got the vaguest clue what science is.
I know.
Wow.
I know why he's babbling that. He's babbling that because science doesn't prove his model.
Yeah, what he should have said is, I don't know that the Earth's an oblate spheroid, but my pseudoscience that I used to claim it doesn't prove anything. He didn't say that. He said science doesn't prove anything because he's asserted the claim of a sphere Earth is backed by science. And it is not. That would be a pseudoscience assertion because it's been claimed under the umbrella of science, which it's not when it's not gone through the method. So what he actually means, to paraphrase his lies, is pseudoscience I have used prior to this point didn't prove Earth was a sphere. We said it was science, it wasn't.
They've got a probabilistic belief, though, Nathan, don't you know? It's probably true. It's more than likely true. It's possibly true, but there's no empirical nature to that at all.
Right, it's indeed. That says it all, Paul, precisely.
Get out of jail free.
Moving on. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Don't all go at once.
They detected it with seismic waves, but all that's just baloney.
It almost said it right. Just try once more. Try again. You nearly got it.
Me, what, with seismic waves?
Just gotta, you're using too much detail. Just say,
Can
I
you
know,
do
I
it,
know.
Nathan? I can do it.
just listen and learn, The Apprentice. Go ahead, Paul.
P waves, S waves.
There you go. Oh, genius. P waves and S waves. Oh, that's us defeated. That's all you got to do. Really easy being a baller. It's actually quite good fun. I've been doing it over the weekend in the chat. You just need a few little buzzwords. Yeah? A few little phrases. No argument necessary. P waves and S waves is one of those. Just say P waves and S waves. Don't give any explanation. It's even better if you don't actually understand what that means.
Say fusion, even if it's not matter.
Yeah, next Tuesday sometime.
How is there any other way they claim, or is it just seismic waves or PNS waves?
That's the only way I know of them claiming to prove a self-perpetuating molten iron core. If anyone else can educate me on the other claims of bullshit nonsense that might be used to claim this, I don't know of any others. Anybody else know of any others that are claimed to prove? Not that P waves and S waves are definitive proof of anything. They've been proven wrong with the 8-mile deep Kohler deep borehole, where they predicted what they would cut through and they didn't cut through it. So no, these aren't reliable. But I don't know of any other claims. Does anybody else know of anything else that is even an attempt? It's hard to say with the cold. An attempt to prove the self-perpetuating molten iron core.
I think it was something with magnetism, but I don't know what.
Well, that's just the claim of magnetism. That's the self-perpetuating molten iron core. That's part of the claim.
That's all.
Well, we debunk it with that, though, don't we? So we say, well, no, because the molten iron core is beyond the Curie point, so it wouldn't develop any magnetism whatsoever.
But we have a magnetic field. If I see magnetic field, therefore we have a molten iron core that perpetuates that.
It's affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy is what you're trying to say there, eh?
Yes, sir.
And that's it. You melt a magnet and it loses
hold on, Chocolate.
its magnetic properties.
Start again, The Apprentice. Go ahead.
Just if you melt a magnet, it loses its magnetic properties.
Right.
Oh no, that doesn't work with the story. Come on.
Okay, we'll do a couple of quick shout outs. So shout out to my latest 2 members. I did give you a shout out in the pre-show as well, but shout out to flatearthchannel.com, who's joined as a lion, and also Michael Jones, who's joined as a penguin. So thank you very much for joining as Nathan Oakley 1980 channel members. Also a big shout out to Retro Bill, who smashed the super chat. Says the ballers have a dome. It's called the Umbrella of Science. Yeah, it should be the Umbrella of Pseudoscience there, Retro Bill. Thank you very much for the super chat, and thank you to Michael and flatearthchannel.com for joining as Nathan Oakley 1980 channel members. Any evidence of the distance to the sun? You're keen as mustard at the intro.
No, I'm just waiting for others, but I guess there's no others. So, no, it's just a light in the sky. We don't know the distance.
Only an assumption
The only
of
claims,
light in the sky.
All I've heard is it sticks and shadows. I don't know another way they do it, lasers, or I don't know.
That's pretty good. If you just left out the I don't know bit, so just try that again without the I don't know. So say sticks and shadows and then shut up. Or, even better, because it's just one word, just say lasers and then don't say anything else. Don't provide anything. Just say those. Try it again. See how you go.
Well, they claim sticks and shadows.
Oh, you're so close. Just
No,
say,
you gotta say it with confidence. Sticks
Gotta
and
say it with
shadows, of
gusto.
course, lasers, my man. Come on.
just gotta say lasers. You can say it with a derogatory tone. That's even better.
I don't want to say it like that's verifiable proof. It's just that's what they claim, and no one can verify it.
We're trying to force you into playing devil's advocate, and you're not biting. I can tell.
Yeah, just try
Sticks and
finding
shadows.
a laser that could shoot
Oh,
93
there we go.
million miles first. Okay.
Got there in the end. Sorry, 10th man.
Sticks and shadows is they just assume the distance.
Yeah, they're already working under the presupposition that they're on a sphere when you do the.
Oh, I've got to correct you.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I got to correct you. It was not a laser. It was radar. They shot radar at Venus, and they shot radar at the sun. They shot a laser at the moon. Come on, get your facts straight.
You didn't give any of those facts. You very much assumed that. You've divined
Am I
his
wrong?
thoughts
Come on
there,
now.
haven't you? That's why I instructed him as a glober. It's probably best that you don't go into any detail. just say lasers, because then if you make the assumption that he actually means lasers fired at the moon, you know, off those reflectors, based on them dropping them there when they travelled through the second law of thermodynamics violation to the sound stage they claimed was the moon. Yeah, well, those lasers, that could be his go-to, but he hasn't said that if he just says lasers. It's, like I say, it's very easy to be a globehead. Just throw out these spurious words. And same in rebuttal, right? If we lay down a really good argument, it's really easy to just, as a glober, to say things like cherry picking. No explanation, no detail, just cherry picking. That's all you need. Or you don't understand. That's a good one, right? Being a glober's easy.
It's even better when you do like a combination, like a fusion. So you say first, you don't understand lasers.
Perfect.
And then leave it at that.
I can do it too. Watch. You don't understand P waves and S waves.
Oh, you got us.
Yeah, check this one. This works. This is good. You don't understand gravity.
Yeah, you just don't understand dark matter.
You could just mix and match. Collect the whole set.
Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius.
You don't understand Aristophanes, man.
Yeah, I do.
Right? Gradient proves R.
Gradient?
Gradient proves R. Gradient proves everything, man.
Right, refraction. Refraction proves R.
You want me to put down that train of thought, how that works?
Yes, please.
Gradient
proves R. Well, okay. The gradient, basically, yeah, it's there. And then I'm going to presuppose it can only be there because there is more gas pressure to the Earth, which would then have to be a ball opposing the outer space. And therefore, yeah, it proves the Earth is a ball and has a radius. Because
I see. So you've done what chocolate did. So you've turned it into an affirm in the consequent formal logical fallacy. If Earth has a radius, then we will experience a gas pressure gradient next to a 10 to the minus 17 Torr vacuum. And we do assume that we've got a 10 to the minus 17 Torr vacuum next to the gas pressure we're breathing. Therefore, Earth has a radius. That's like a triple fallacy. That's like a triple decker fallacy right there.
Yeah.
I've got something better.
It's assuming your outcome in the premise of R. It's assuming your outcome in the justification in the affirming the consequent for your assumption of R, and then it's justifying your assumption with your assumption within the premise of Q. It's absolutely horrendous, Owen. I absolutely love it.
You're welcome.
That's the kind of level of nonsensical, non sequitur fallacy that we do occasionally get here, though. So it's good that you're testing me.
I've got an even better one. Come on now. You got weight and hydrostatic pressure. What you got?
Hydro. What does that mean?
It's flowing, it's moving, it's going in all directions all the time, and there's a gradient. That's what hydrostatic means.
Hydrostatic means flowing in all directions. So hydro means what? And static means flowing.
Well, gas acts like a liquid when it's under pressure, Nathan. Come on. So you can actually say hydro, the gas is like a liquid. Come on. And
what?
It's static.
Under pressure? No. Under which pressure is that?
Yeah, when it's compressed together so tightly that it cannot move freely and randomly in all directions, you can describe it as a fluid. However, this hydrostatic equilibrium, it's got this awkward little word static in it, hasn't it, Paul?
Also, I think it requires a pretty strong container to achieve that.
Oh, right. Oh, yes, indeed. How do we get the hydrostatic equilibrium theoretical state without a container? Paul?
That's where the weight comes in. Gas has weight. You forgot that. That's why I threw weight in there. That's how you do it.
Gas has weight. No, gas does not have an exclusively downward vector. This 9.8 meters per second exclusively downward vector they assert with gravity. We covered this at the early stages of this particular show. So that can be debunked by showing something going up. It's not this exclusive downward vector. So helium does the opposite of that, doesn't it? Well, gas just expands in all directions. It doesn't have an exclusively downward vector. So in a vacuum chamber, if you release gas, it just fills the availability of volume it has. Well, that isn't needing sweeping up at the end because it's gone down, go boom boom with this exclusively downward vector now, is it? You don't have to sweep up gas in a vacuum chamber if you release it. It just fills the available volume. Precisely as our gas would do if the sky was a vacuum called outer space. 10 to the minus 17 torr, a claim of the most powerful vacuum known to man, is directly above your head, so they say. And you know what's happening with the gas you're breathing in and out of your lungs? It's not dispersing into that vacuum in violation of natural law. So the sky is not a vacuum, outer space is fake. And therefore all claims of any travel or photographs from that region or through that region are automatically deemed void. Lies, fake, fraud, scam, sham, not real. Nothing that's occurred in space, or is claimed to have occurred in space, has ever actually occurred. That is the last housekeeping question. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Gradient. Oh wait, I already said that.
Nice try, though. Yeah, they got nothing. Just a model. Like I said, it's hard to defend a model when held to task. They got to reify it.
And it's funny, whenever you research entropy and the microstate issue, they always use a gas. They never talk about just energy states. They always have gas as their illustration. Why is that? Does gas want to fill all available microstates? Is that not true?
Yes, it will disperse to fill the availability of volume it has. That's what gas does.
Isn't it funny? Wasn't it that Professor George Porter, I think, who described the expansion of gas into a vacuum as the simplest form of entropy change we can have?
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
And there'd be no heat change as well? Didn't he also say that? No heat change?
No heat, no energy inserted into the system, just simple entropy of gas, expansion into a vacuum. Nice and simple.
So in his example, he's got a vacuum in a bulb and bromine in another bulb. And all the bromine gas is doing is it's bouncing off the chamber. And then occasionally some of the gas will bounce off the valve, which is closed, and remain in the chamber. Now when he opens the valve, all that happens is instead of bouncing off the valve, the gas just carries on in the direction it was going. And in that instance, because it was going to but does not hit the valve, it just travels into the empty space. So the gas is moving at a high velocity in whatever direction it's travelling. If it doesn't hit anything, it just carries on going. So when he opens the valve, the gas that was bouncing off the valve just doesn't. Just carries on going into the other empty space and fills the availability of volume it has to fill. Now that's not energy transfer. It's just something not bouncing off something. It's just carrying on going into the next chamber. So that's just an entropy increase. Very simple. Correct. Good example, Chocolate.
Well, and that's why I always ask the question now, can gravity decrease entropy? Because it would have to keep it from the gas expanding, right?
Well, no, it doesn't. It has no effect because the description of gravity as this downward vector isn't what gas is doing. Gas doesn't have an exclusively downward vector. It's expanding in all directions. That's why it debunks this idea of Newtonian gravity. Completely just let go of a helium balloon. Bye-bye, Newtonian gravity. But this is the assertion that we have this force, this downward vector, is 105 years out of date, coming up for 106 years out of date. Yeah? It's been debunked. It's been superseded, replaced by something else that's also been debunked, which would be Einsteinian, bending of pseudo-Riemannian force space, conceptual mediums being bent to give rise to a not actual force called gravity, the bending of a conceptual medium. That's the current rhetoric of gravity, debunked by quantum mechanics. But that's the current fundy religion of this gravity, not actual force. It's an effect of the uneven distribution of mass, bending space-time. Completely conceptual, completely mathematical, not a force, definitely not giving you a downward vector, definitely not overcoming entropy, definitely not making gas go down, go boom, boom.
Well, maybe something else is making the gas go down, go boom, boom.
The gas doesn't go down, go boom, boom. You're as bad as the fundies. The gas does not go down, go boom, boom.
Gas pressure in all directions, and then at some some height, arbitrary height point, it suddenly turns into down, go boom, boom.
No.
How about that?
No, gas that, when I described it, travelling in that bromine canister and hitting the valve, it's just travelling in a particular direction, and it either bounces off something, or it just carries on going in the direction that it's going. It doesn't care. And at no stage will that bromine go, you know what, I've reached the valve, there's nothing for me to bounce off, but I'm just going to arbitrarily go in the other direction. That's not what gas does.
Well, I don't think that specific test has been done at a very great height. I think it's only been done at ground level. Who knows what it's going to do? Maybe if you're really high up, it is actually going to show to go slightly go down, go boom, boom.
No, what do you mean, who knows? Got natural law. What do you mean, who knows? This is entropy, Arwin. That's what it does.
It hasn't been tested, though.
This is entropy. It's just a description of what it does.
Right, based on the understanding of everything observed. But
I've just figured out what he's doing.
That
okay,
specific test
stop.
Super high up, then you never really know for sure.
Yeah, this is a special pleading fallacy, isn't it?
I think so.
Arwin.
Yeah,
Arwin,
it is. Hold on, Arwin said it. Hold on, 10th. Yeah, he said I think so. Yes, it is. It's a special pleading fallacy. It's when they say, well, no, I envisage... I can't say that with a cold. I picture that because the scale is so big, the laws of nature no longer apply. That's special pleading.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I guess that is what I was doing. I do.
It's a logical fallacy, though. It's a logical fallacy, though.
Yeah, but I'm basically just assuming that natural law is natural law, and until it has, for some reason, been disproven. Now, you would actually have to go out and test it to disprove it, to actually do it. But yeah, I'm just wondering, like, nobody's ever done that. Like, why would they? Well, maybe because there is something odd that has been overlooked. How many tests have been performed at that insane altitude bar what NASA says they've done? You know?
It's inviolable natural law.
Yeah, but inviolable until it has been tested to not be exactly correct anymore.
Right. Okay. And until that point, it's never to be violated, applied, always, never to be defied. But you're saying, with your special pleading fallacy, that if I scale it up enough, it might be different. Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Yeah, special pleading fallacy.
Maybe there's some hope.
Okay, let's just juxtapose this. Maybe if
I do that one little thing.
Maybe if I can travel through the wardrobe, I can see time dilation. Right? And has anybody actually gone through the wardrobe to test this? I'm just juxtaposing the exact same example with the wardrobe rather than a sky vacuum, are we? Narnia.
Okay.
So time dilation in Narnia could be the case.
Up, right?
It could be the case that time does actually dilate and we slowly actually age in this timeline but get older rapidly or at a normal rate in Narnia. Now that could be the case, but who's testing it, Arwin? Who's actually going through the wardrobe to do this? You tell me.
I don't know. They're still stuck in there for
So it could be the case then. So it could be the case that someone does venture through the wardrobe to test this dilation problem. Correct?
Yeah, he just hasn't been back yet.
Exactly. It's just special pleading.
Yes.
Like I said, any test in the wardrobe has many hang-ups.
Well,
Terrible.
if you've not seen
Absolutely
the movie Interstellar, he's only been there about 5 minutes. So, 1,000 years of passing here. So he's only been, so he still has had a chance to come back. He just got there. So come on.
Rob Wiggles says, smash that super chat. Wow, he's giving me money to support me by telling the other people to give me money. Really, really appreciate it, Rob Wiggles. Times are tough. But thank you for the super chat in all seriousness.
What about the outward force if a ball is spinning? Anytime you see a ball spinning, say with some water on it, the water shoots outwards. So What about that? How did they address that?
Alwyn, you need some special pleading applied to this. Go right ahead.
What? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
If the ball is
That's a
big
good one
enough,
right there.
if you scale it up, 10th man, to an enormous scale, let's say the scale of Earth, right? then it'll do the complete opposite of that. Completely.
Oh wow!
Just how it is, man.
Right, the potential, what is it? The natural gas state exchange, the point after which it will go down, go boom boom until it recycles back to the old region and then starts to behave normally.
I see. I'm going to play baller now. So when you scale it up and it goes way up there, it creates gravity, which pushes it back down. I get it.
No, that's something else. Now the gravity is just assumed to be there. It's just a reification of relative density. No, this is in order to bypass. No. Listen, this is in order to bypass it having to expand in all directions, even though there's a lot of room supposedly up there. So this is another effect that is suspected to be on top of it in order for gas pressure behavior to change in relation to the height it is at within the realm.
I had it till you confused me.
It's sentience. That's what it is, right? So the gas particles get to a certain height, and they go, you know what? I don't think I want to venture any further than this. It looks pretty scary out there. I'm going to stay right here. That's just way too far.
It would be the upper atmospheric gas cycle, just like the hydrological cycle, except this one is virtual and with gas as it alters its behavior. Still requires a lot of testing to be done.
Still requires containment. Still requires containment.
Well,
say it.
Let's just see if it works out first.
Back to special pleading. Maybe on the big scale, no containment needed.
Yeah, on the small scale, gas next to a vacuum fills it. On the big scale, it says, hold your ground, gas particles. Do not venture forward.
Right.
Well, we got some problems with Al-Biruni when he did his so-called measurements. Since no one could see the geometric horizon, what he must have measured a refracted horizon.
In a not actual location that's not got any geometry. Yeah, that's right.
Correct.
He didn't derive R from not actual locations that aren't physical or geometric. That's correct. So his whole story, his narrative of acquiring R is nonsense. That's right.
Hold on.
So now
hang on,
Arwen, I'm not done. Hang on. So they say he came within 200 miles of the 24,902 miles. So he came within 200 miles of the Earth's circumference, which is 24,902 miles. So now the problem I see here right off the bat is if you within 200 miles and the only thing you supposedly measured was a refracted horizon on that one given day at that one particular time. If he showed up the next day, it was foggy, he would have measured a whole different horizon. And given the day, the Earth changes in size, unless you have a geometric horizon, which is physical. So they got the radius from a not actual location, their refracted horizon, because he didn't take into account refraction and how light behaves.
Yeah, he assumed Earth was a sphere with a physical sphere edge that you could derive geometry from, and it isn't, and it doesn't. It's just part of their story.
Right. So
the horizon is a contradiction in terms. You can't
I agree.
track the horizon.
Exactly.
I agree. But what I'm saying is I'm reading on the people who make this guy like a hero, and he did something great using an astrolabe, and he came within 200 miles. Well, 200 miles of what? And a physical edge doesn't change. And we know at the observer height at 1 foot, it's no more than 1.22 miles out. And that could be seen all day long in most cases, unless it's heavy fog. But we don't see that.
There's a million and one things that could be cause for the horizon to be in a different position. It's a not actual, not physical location. Now, the only way you can make the assumption that is asserted by Al-Biruni is to put the world in orthographic Muppet vision and then do geometry based on that. And that's precisely what he's done. He's measuring a non-physical, not actual location that is not going to derive any R value from, because it's not capable of deriving an R value from it unless it is a physical sphere edge, and it isn't. It's just that simple. They've got a very big problem in the form of a geometric physical sphere edge being required to block boats and buildings and be measured by Al-Biruni. But we're also being told it's not physical, it only exists in maths. We wouldn't expect to see a geometric horizon. Well, that's the basis of their claim that we have physical geometry. So if you can't see physical geometry, we don't have physical geometry. Simple.
Can I interject with a funny thing I just happened to see? I went into the live stream and I'm just happened to glance for a second and I see a comment by Professor Phil Bell who says, at David Reed, I personally used the retro reflectors on the moon. How did they get there? How do I know exactly where they are?
What?
Okay, there are no.
Personally use it.
Let's let Chocolate
personally. Yes.
Chocolate's built it up. Let Chocolate address it as well. Go ahead, Chocolate.
No, I mean I'd love to hear how you personally use the retro reflectors that have been placed on the moon in a second law of thermodynamics violation. Don't even see what the point of that was, because supposedly wasn't there a story that they bounced things off the moon before those reflectors were there anyway? Yeah. In your second law of thermodynamics violation?
There are no retro
funny.
reflectors on the moon. The claim that men have travelled through a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum to land on a rock in the sky at a distance based on a presupposed R value, giving them a presupposed Venus value, to apply Kepler's third law to give them the distance to travel to this rock in the sky through a violation of natural law, is the biggest pile of horse crap there is. There are no retro reflectors on the moon. Nobody's been to the moon. Nobody's travelled through the sky vacuum. There is no sky vacuum. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill that space, and there'd be no gas for us to breathe. For us to have gas, we must be contained. There must be containment for us to achieve gas pressure. So there is absolutely no way anybody has travelled through a sky vacuum. It is not the case that the sky is a vacuum called outer space. Nobody's travelled through it. Nobody's taken pictures from it. It's Narnia. It's not real. It stands in violation of natural law. No retro reflectors. It's just bullshit.
Well, like the man said himself, you know, like Nathan Oakley would say, we presuppose our model. Oh, yes, we presuppose our model. Yeah, good job, Professor. Good job.
Yeah, I just call him just Phil Bell, given that he doesn't understand that water vapour is gas. You know, he spent a prolonged period of time with other gentlemen laughing at how stupid we were for asserting that water vapour is gas. And he, while they were claiming how stupid we were for making this assertion, declared that it was the stupidest thing he'd ever heard. This is a man who works in hydrology. A man who should be fired because he thinks water vapour is not gas. This just Phil Bell is a moron. But he likes his bedtime stories. This old man with his old bedtime stories that he was presumably told as a child about Santa and sky vacuums. He's kept hold of the sky vacuum bit. That philosophical.
Don't forget his laser pointer.
I want to call him Professor Retro Reflector. That's an awesome name.
Did you ever see the interview
I imagine
with Professor Brian
last
Cox?
end.
Go on, Dan, sorry. Go, Dan, go.
I imagine his last name being End.
One more time.
I imagine his last name being End. E-N-D.
Bell End.
Oh, it's just a cheap ad hom. Yes, Professor Phil Bellend. Yes, indeed. But by demonstration, you know, asserting that water vapour is not gas is a bell-end statement to make. Laughing about it.
Does have a nice ring to it, though.
Ding dong.
Hey, he just posted that what we do is not or match reality. Excuse me, we've been asking you 8 housekeeping questions about your model, and all you got to do is answer it for your model to be reality, but you can't do it.
Mr. Retro Reflector? Talking about reality? All right, buddy.
Did any of you guys ever see the Professor Brian Cox discussion in the back of a big 4x4 with either a director or a producer, and he's travelling to I don't know where it is, but one of these places that fires lasers that they claim to be retro reflectors, and the producer's having to explain to Professor Brian Cox why it's relevant to highlight the fact that this measurement that they're claiming to make proves that they've been to the moon. Because Professor Brian Cox is like, well, I just beg the question, of course we're on a sphere. He's like, no, but we need to explain to the audience how this is actually proving it. He's like, but I don't get it. It's stupid to not just assume the Earth's a sphere. He's like, no, you're not getting it, Professor Brian Cox. You need to reiterate that for her to do this measurement, men have been to the moon. It's really important that the audience hears this. Don't you get it? Haven't you read the script? Professor Brian Cox replies, no, I haven't really read the script. Well, if you'd read the script, you'd understand the importance of making the public understand. You know, I'll see if I can dig it out. I actually did a little breakdown of it. If I can find it. Talk amongst yourselves, hopefully. Funny. Or don't talk amongst yourselves while I'm searching.
Yeah, that's I do recall watching it at one time. So yeah, if you find it, that'd be great.
That kind of reminds me of the little elbow bump that Armstrong gave Collins.
Ah, yeah.
It's like, hey, talk about the story the way we have to, guy.
Don't bring in the stars. Don't talk about the stars.
We need to square that up in the briefing.
Yeah, isn't it interesting when you watch that press conference? It's like their best friend died.
Right, I'm just going to play this. Hopefully it's the correct video. We'll see in a second. It's only a 4-minute video. And in the video he has a director explaining to him that there is a purpose in going to an observatory to point out to any non-believers that of course we have been to the moon. Now my attitudes towards people like Brian Cox have changed considerably during my time in the flat earth arena, and that is to say that all of us have been deceived for the purposes of criticism. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video.
Okay, where are we going? There are so no, I'm saying it on camera. There are so many things that you could talk about, right? You could talk about. Oh, I don't know. Fuck it. Bollocks. The moon landings happened, and it's nonsensical. It's like saying, was America ever discovered? Right. Well, yes, it was. Did we work out how to? Did we discover penicillin? Yes. Did we go to the moon? Yes. That's the enemy. There's no information, content, or use in debating it anymore. Right.
Tell me where we're going in respect to the fact that ultimately this completely proves the fact that they went there.
Well, first of all, I don't even accept that it needs proving, because you've got to be a complete moron to anyway.
But remember, right. If you don't hear my question, your answer doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, right. Are you really suggesting that in this program, a scientific documentary program about gravity, you're going to even mention the words, could it have been true that the moon landings were fakes?
That's just for the audience's benefit. That's what I mean by him saying, I just automatically assume this is correct. So therefore, why would it ever be necessary to point out to the public that it's not? I just wanted to get that in there because I preempted this video with it.
Well, you know the script that I wrote?
Yes.
Did you read it?
No.
There we go.
Does it say something about
It
the moon
says
landing
something
being
like
fake?
it's a comedy throwaway line. I'm not saying that we're saying that it didn't happen. It's a comedy throwaway line in that, of course, it bloody happened because I fire a laser at the moon and it sends it back. It's a silly thing to have said. So,
All right.
where are we going and what does it prove or not prove, and who cares?
We're going to the loser laser range. We're going to the lunar. We're going to the. Where are we going?
So they're going to the place that we were discussing earlier. So they're going to this place that fires a laser at the retroreflectors that are claimed to be on the moon. And the director's pointing out that, of course, firing a laser at retroreflectors that men have taken to the moon proves men have been to the moon. And he's trying to explain that to him.
Where are we going?
McDonald Observatory.
So that's that.
Interesting
Wow,
that
what a low life.
Interesting that he brought up. Look, man, I could beg the question. America discovered penicillin and moon landing. He just lumped a bunch of things together just to make the moon landing have some good company.
And that's what the producer's trying to get across to him. Look, we're stacking up these incidentals to demonstrate to a public that's watching it by inference that men have been to the moon. And you need to get across that in a throwaway way.
And even in that context, he just was so cognitive, like, oh, it's so moronic to think that it's not something that happened. Like, what? Oh, man.
Well, I even said, read this. That's why I wrote the script. I
Exactly.
wrote the script.
It's like your exasperation about how it's absolutely absurd for someone to think otherwise isn't going to help us in this demonstration that's being broadcast. You need to explain it in a way that I'm explaining it in the script that you haven't learned. Of course men went to the moon with firing lasers at the reflectors they left there. Right? That proves it, doesn't it? No, it doesn't prove it, but you need to say that to the audience in a way that's so throwaway and jokey that they won't even recognise they've been told it. And then we'll move on to looking at the science, which isn't science.
Like that reminds me of this cornball wannabe professor who just put that nonsense about the retroreflector in the chat. Like, really? Just gonna presuppose and just assume, right? And then tell us that that's fact. Even in your little scripted TV shows. It's unbelievable, man.
But Brian Cox reminds me of someone who drank his own Kool-Aid so much that when someone is saying, look, we need to do it this way so that all the normies just won't think and accept what we're doing. And Brian Cox is saying, no, man, I've drank the Kool-Aid. My whole profession is based on this thing being a ball. I don't need to prove it. I just need to assume it.
Yeah. The producer recognises where there's a level of programming that needs to be performed. Brian Cox doesn't. He just accepts the programming and thinks that everyone else should be like him.
Shameful. Shameful for people in academia to act this way. Not to dot the I's, cross the T's, expect people to just accept it. The sheep will, but, we're going to contend against the pseudoscience.
And at least, like, as much as I can't stand him, at least Neil deGrasse Tyson was sort of honest when he said, when he talks about ancient civilizations and people back in the day thinking it's flat. This, as far as I'm aware, I could be wrong, but wasn't it this moron Brian Cox who said, "Oh, nobody thought it was ever flat"?
Yeah, it was. Yes, that's correct.
Like, what, bro?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh man.
Well, that's how much Kool-Aid he's drank.
extra sugar.
Well, when it's your profession to be one of the leading speakers, let's put it that way. I don't even want to give him a title here on the subject, and he's got to fight for the top of the rung against Neil deGrasse Tyson and some of these other types. He's got to make a name for himself. So he's going to say outlandish things, believe his own press, make up his own press. He's living in such a bubble.
So again, just Phil Bell is like, go to an observatory and see for yourselves. Well, really early on into this discussion, a guy who I used to live with when I first left home and was at college got in touch with me via Facebook after I started putting out flat earth information. And he explained to me that he'd been to, I can't remember the name of the observatory now, I've got another video, I won't dig it out, but he went to an observatory, Goonhilly, that was it, and as a kid had seen the lunar rover at Goonhilly on a monitor, not through an eyepiece, and he was like, yeah, you can just go and look for yourself. And I was like, I want to do that. So I got in touch with them. I was like, I want to come down and see the lunar rover. And I got an email back from Goonhilly saying they were undergoing various refurbishment. But even if I wanted to go down and they were open, I couldn't, because you couldn't see the lunar rover even with the most powerful telescope on Earth. Furthermore, you couldn't see it with Hubble. It's too small in arc seconds, so it's not visible. So when people like Just Phil say, just go to an observatory and look, these reflectors are smaller than the claim to be lunar rover. And I know from contacting an observatory, not because I did the maths or worked it out, but because somebody who is au fait with how many arc seconds this stuff is at the distances claimed by heliocentrism, explained to me in no uncertain terms that you cannot see the lunar rover. No, you cannot. So as for seeing these retro reflectors, which are even smaller, total horseshit lies from Just Phil Bell. No, you can't see them.
Is Just Phil saying that he is personally seeing the lunar rover from Earth?
It's the fairly typical fallacy of burden of proof reversal when dealing with people like Just Phil, who is moronic. You can just go and observe it. No, burden of proof reversal fallacy, Just Phil. So, Just Phil Bell, given that you've told us from the chat that you, meaning us, can just go and observe this. No, you can do it, Phil, and you will. Like when Rumpus told us about his measurements to Polaris, and how easy it would be for us to do it. That was turned into, no, Rumpus, you will now do this, it's so easy. So, Just Phil Bell, moron who doesn't know that water vapour is gas, you will provide this to us. Given that you've told us how easy it would be to just go to an observatory and acquire these visual images. So you will do this, in the face of me explaining how it cannot be done, proving you a liar. But given that you think it's challengeable for us to do it, you will be now held to task for doing this, Phil. Just Phil.
Amazing that they still come and chat, won't come on the show, and then they'll do anything to keep this globe model alive so they could somewhat have peace of mind in their crazy world of theirs. Arguing points that can't be proven, but believing them.
Quick shout out to Al Junkie, who says, we have a new cowboy in town. Philosopher Bell. Laughing face. Massive thanks to Al Junkie and everyone else for smashing the super chat, hopefully liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, this is where we bid you farewell. Another massive thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making this live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!